as I had run out of wood in my pile. The footsteps stopped, and everything went totally silent. I sat there still, for 2 hours, clutching a knife in my hand, and prayed that I wouldn't hear anything else. I stayed like that until the sun cast enough light that I could see that I was alone in my campsite. I packed my things and speed walked the 3 miles back down the trail I had taken. I arrived at the empty dirt road where my car was parked and nearly sprinted to it as I unlocked my Subaru, jumped in, and drove, and didn't stop until I had put at least 20 miles between me and that place. I stopped at a gas station to buy a Red Bull, but mostly just to see or talk to another person. As I exited the store, I was able to read what someone had written in the dust on my back window. Sleep well. A lot of weird things have happened to me on my various adventures through Arizona, but this is the weirdest and the scariest by far. There was somebody serious.
Free time.
I've heard a lot of stories here in which individuals have discussed some of the most scary and horrible things that have happened to them in their lives. A lot of them have sounded like they were very...
I might have a look at the school. It's nearly finished, sir. The school is nearly finished. Hell yeah. Oh man, the school is nearly finished. Look at this. Oh, hell yeah. Oh, I can see in the school. Oh, awesome. The trophy room. Oh, look at it, the school is nearly finished, yo. And they burned something right here. Let me guess. Nice. I guess I can't wait until the school is done. Like, hell yeah. I'm sort of happy to go back to school and I'm sort of not. I'm sort of, you know, I still got my life with me. Just to be sure if anyone tries to fuck me, I can just swash. You know what I mean? Like, cut. Oh man, awesome. Look at this area and the soccer court. Hell yeah.
Very traumatic at the time in which they occurred, but a small amount wasn't even half as bad. Because your boyfriend slapped you, you have much bigger problems than your choice of men. I don't want to be mean, but many people make things into being far bigger than they really are. Half of the things I've heard recently have been the textbook definition of first world problems. If you want to hear a recounting of a real horrible event in which I was involved, pay close attention. At 16, I was emancipated from my parents because of repeated abuse suffered by me and my sister. While my sister, who was only 12 at the time, was sent to live with our aunt, I moved into an apartment with my boyfriend. Despite it being terribly hard to find a job at that age to pay my bills, I did it. And I don't mean by selling myself like many of the runaways and the street girls I had met.
Even though it meant we didn't get to see much of each other, my boyfriend's job at his family's company allowed us to live a stable and happy life. A life far better than I'd ever known growing up. My 17th birthday was the first year I'd ever received an actual present that wasn't purchased at a dollar store or shoplifted from Goodwill. My only regret at the time was that I couldn't bring my sister along with me. But the judge felt I was too young to handle such a large responsibility. I've been raising her for as long as I could remember, but he didn't want to hear it. August 14th of 2005 was my sister's 13th birthday, and I wanted to buy her something really special. A few days before her party, Brendan, my boyfriend, and I had a dinner day off together, and he volunteered to drive me to the mall to get her a gift. Since he was the one doing the driving, we had to take his beloved BMW M3 that his dad had bought him for his 16th birthday. There were many times I truly believed that he loved that car more than me, but the pettiness of thinking that made me ashamed. He dreamed his whole life of owning one of those cars and had been working any job he could get since he was 12 to save money for one. He'd no doubt earned it, but this fact was sometimes lost on me. Any of you ladies out there who has a man that seems to love his car more than life itself will hopefully understand the petty jealousy I often felt towards his. It wasn't out of the ordinary to have guys approach him and tell him how cool the car was. I think he liked the attention the car got, and it got him. The second we parked, I could tell the two men were lusting over the M3. It became very obvious quickly that I wasn't what they were eyeballing. I continued to watch their focus, and it never broke from that car for a second. Unfortunately, the two stores I checked didn't have what I needed. Brendan and I stopped to have a slice and then headed back to the car. As soon as we exited the mall, we saw the two guys I'd noticed earlier, standing around the car like they were waiting for us to return. The time was approaching 9 p.m. and it was already getting dark. The parking lot was almost completely empty. As we got closer to the guys, I started to get a weird vibe from the two. Their body language was tense and unnatural, and as they spoke to each other, they would laugh in an obviously uncomfortable manner, almost like they were attempting to soothe their nerves. I assumed this was because they were a little younger than Brendan and nervous about talking to him. When I got to the car, I went around to the passenger door to get in like normally. Brendan said hi to them and asked if he could help, in a friendly manner. The taller of the two asked him if the car was for sale. None of the guys came off as aggressive in any way at this point, and Brendan was never anything other than respectful to them. He didn't have to think about the offer. His answer was a brief, matter-of-fact no. Thinking it ended right there, he began to turn his back and get in the car, but apparently that wasn't good enough for the guy, and he must have felt Brendan should rethink the offer. He grabbed Brendan as he turned. "Hey, don't turn your back on me. I wasn't finished talking to you. The rich boy thinks he's too good to talk to us." When he said the last part, he was facing his friend. Being no stranger to people with aggressive attitudes, a sick feeling grew in my stomach. Brendan did his best to defuse the situation, but it quickly became clear that the dude wanted a confrontation. Once more, this time around in a far more aggressive manner, he asked Brendan if he wanted to sell the car, and once again, he did his best to decline the offer in a friendly way. Then the guy changed tactics and demanded that Brendan give him the car. When he said this, I started to feel very scared. This idea must have struck him as insane because when Brendan heard it, he began laughing uncontrollably in the guy's face. His expression showed just how angry Brendan's reaction made him. This was when he pulled the gun and stuck it in Brendan's face. My body began shaking the second I saw it. Now it seemed we were getting to the actual goal of this exchange. We were going to be robbed. I glanced over at the other a-hole standing at the back of the car. His rotten teeth-filled smile made the bile rise up from my stomach and into my mouth. Just the taste almost caused me to vomit, but I managed to stifle it back. His buddy with the gun told Brendan, through gritted teeth, to laugh in his face again. Wisely he didn't. He attempted to de-escalate again by trying to reason with the guy. He told him that the car wasn't actually as great as it looked. The fact was that it cost a lot of money to maintain, but the guy said nothing. I saw Brendan's expression change at this point. It was a look I'd only ever seen once. He was terrified and knew he was in trouble. This desperation caused him to do something very foolish. When the guy looked back toward his partner, Brennan grabbed for the gun, and they began fighting for control of it, and soon fell on the ground out of my sight. I was afraid the guy's partner would rush to help him, so I rushed him instead. It didn't take long for him to throw me off. Just as I landed, I heard the shot. It made me jump. I had to see if anyone had been hurt. When the guy with the gun ran past me to his car, followed by the other, a horrible feeling came over me. Even before I'd seen him, I knew Brendan had been shot. Honestly, I was too terrified to look, but I knew I had to. What I saw would take away my will to live for many years to come. He was lying flat on his back, writhing silently in pain and staring hopelessly into the starless sky. I shuffled over to him as fast as possible in a vain attempt to stop the blood pouring from his stomach. Doing my best to make his end as peaceful as possible, I held him and sang quietly to him as he slowly bled out of my arms. I'm not really sure how long we stayed there. Does it really matter? I'm sure he'd already been dead for some time when the ambulance and police showed up. Those monsters ended his life for this stupid car. In the end, didn't even bother to take it with them when they left. What a waste. If anybody reading this cares about what happened to the two guys, I have 2 words for you. Not much. The shooter was able to cut a deal on a lesser charge and is scheduled to be released sometime next year. As for his little buddy, his age at the time and it being his first conviction was taken into consideration. The yuckmouth sleazoid only served 5 years with an additional 10 of probation. If you've done the math, you realize he'll be free and clear himself soon. No 2 men in the history of crime got off so easily. If I would have been born a man, I would have committed a crime just in the hopes I'd be put in the same place as one or both of them, so I could break a shank off into their guts and watch them bleed, just as I had to watch the only man in my life who has ever treated me with respect or love. It's painfully clear that I still have a long way to go before I'm able to put this behind me, if I ever can. If you've made it this far, then maybe you can now understand even a little why I've criticized some of the other submitters of these stories. However, maybe due to my stubborn determination to deal with Brendan's death myself, I've ruined my chance to move beyond it. Perhaps then, getting to the place in my life where I'm able to share this story with another person was assisted by those very same people I criticize. I'm still not sure. The last 14 years have been a long series of ups and downs, and I'm still very confused about much of it. Regardless of my petty sniping, I thank everyone who's had the bravery to publish their terrible times. I'm only here because of you. Hey friends, thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe and click that notification bell to be alerted of all future narrations. If you got a story, be sure to submit them to my subreddit, r/Let's Read Official, and give and receive feedback from the community, and maybe even hear your story featured on the next video.
My friend and I both planned on watching our high school basketball team playing a really big tournament game. He lived literally less than a mile from the arena where the tournament was being held. We both agreed that 5 o'clock was a good time to go walk over there together, as we both didn't have a car. And that was a good time to get good seats, as the arena would be packed around 6:30. Around 4 o'clock that day, I was at the shopping center that is about 2 blocks away from his house. 4:35 rolled around, and I started to leave the shopping center and walk my way over to Shane's house. On the way there, I had the sudden urge to piss, and I didn't know how much longer I could hold it. It felt like an eternity, but I arrived at his street at 4:45, and I felt like my bladder was about to explode. As I got there, I realized how spaced out the houses are from one another, so finding a private place to urinate seemed impossible. However, I finally found a very large bush in front of a house that was for rent around half a mile down from Shane's house. And I looked around for anyone that would be standing around. Nobody was there. Relieved, I began to use the bathroom. I hear someone from a short distance walking. Embarrassed, I quickly zipped my pants up and looked back. He was an older man, probably around mid-50s to early 60s, about 5'8" and 150 pounds, wearing an outdated style pair of overalls and a red baseball cap. He was staring at me intensely, as if he were mad at me for some reason. While walking in my direction, I began to walk in the direction of Shane's house, which was the direction that the man was coming from, and I was passing him. I realized that he had 2 little boys with him, both around the ages of 10 to 12, along with a dog that was attached to a leash. I didn't think much of them until I heard a door swing open aggressively and someone yelling, "Hey, come back here." I looked back and saw that the man was armed with a rifle. He started running toward me, and I instantly started running faster than I thought humanly possible. He was about 2 car lengths behind me, and I could see Shane's house coming up. I looked back and saw my life flash before my eyes when I saw him starting to point the rifle at me and fire a shot that barely missed my left side. I yanked Shane's door open and slammed it shut, locking it in the process. Shane came running from his room, asking if I was okay and what happened. I told him everything while out of breath from running so much, and he was freaking out. Shane ended up reporting the incident, and when the police came back, they found no one. The man was gone. It turns out the house was up for rent for the past 6 months at the time, and has been vacated since then. I gave them a description of the man again, and that was that. Surprisingly, Shane wanted to go to the basketball game anyway, but I didn't want to go anymore. However, I didn't want to just leave him there by himself, so I reluctantly went. Shane and I ended up needing to get a ride, as we both knew it wasn't safe to go outside and walk over there. It was getting a little late out there, and friends were waiting for us to show up at the arena. While we were there, I had a hard time enjoying the game, as I couldn't shake off the fact that I could have lost my life back there. And if it wasn't for Shane's front door being unlocked, I probably wouldn't be here. My name is Nicole, and I'm 16 years old. During my freshman year, I would walk to and from school. I didn't take the bus because I got bullied a lot, so I walked to help clear my mind and just relax. I took the same path every day, which was passing by some old buildings, a daycare, and an empty parking lot. I did that a lot for about 5 months. I was leaving my apartment and walking towards the back of those buildings, as it was faster, when I ran into this man. He looked to be in his late 20s, had a white shirt on, and was bald. He said hi and be careful. It was pretty random, but I blew him off. I kept walking for about 5 minutes, and I got to the old buildings, and a white truck pulled up next to me. I turned and I saw it was the same man. He asked me if I needed a ride, and I said no. He said, "Are you sure? I know you go to that school down the road, and in the 10th grade. It won't be a bother." And my heart sank. I'd never seen this man in my life, and he knew what school I went to and what grade I was in. I declined again, and he drove off. I didn't tell my mom about the incident. I just kept walking to and from school. A week passed, and I saw him again by the old buildings. It was foggy and raining outside, and he pulled up next to me in the same white truck. He rolled down the window and asked, "Do you need a ride, sweetheart? You're going to get all wet." And I said, "No thanks," and continued to walk faster. He started to follow me and kept saying things like, "Come on, it's cold, and I know you don't want to walk out there. It's just a 2-minute drive, you'll be fine." I turned and told him to leave me alone, and that I had to get to school. I guess me raising my voice and saying what I had to say made him mad. He put the vehicle in park and opened the door. My heart sank and I froze. I couldn't run. I couldn't speak. I was in shock. He started walking toward me, and then an old man walked out of nowhere and said, "Hey Cassie, I didn't see you all day yesterday. You didn't show up for work and I was worried. Can you help me with something really quick?" It was the man from the store. I understood what he was doing. I turned and the man with the white truck ran back to his truck and took off. I started crying as the old man told me he had saw what happened and had to spring into action. I thanked him and called my friend to drop me off at school. Later on that day, I had forgotten about the incident until my teacher pulled me out of class. He told me that when he was driving into work, he saw what had happened and how the man had been following me. He took me to the front office and had to make a report and call my mom to inform her what happened. The police said they would look into it, but they never found the man. I would have given them the plate number, but at the moment, when it all happened, I hadn't thought of that. I'm a sophomore now, but I don't walk to school anymore after that. In fact, I don't really go outside of my apartment at all. I often think about what would have happened if that old man never came out the store, and what the guy in the truck would have done to me. I'm 25 now, but this story happened when I was 16. I was camping with my dad and my twin sister across Lake Alberta.
With him, and we were trying to de-escalate him without having to physically restrain him for his and our safety. But it was becoming apparent that we wouldn't be able to simply calm him down verbally. I talked to the doctor and we agreed to give him a shot of an antipsychotic. I drew it up into a syringe and headed back to the psych area. I entered the room and there were still a lot of people in there with him. We had a couple of our ER staff, at least one of our hospital security, and at least 3 or 4 police officers just trying to keep this guy together. Admittedly, he was doing slightly better than when I had left him a few minutes ago. The shouting was at a minimum now, and it looked like all he needed was the shot to help him relax. I approached him with the syringe and told him I would be giving him a shot, and obviously, he became paranoid because, again, he was perceiving us as trying to harm him. After a little more calming him down, I prepared to give him the shot in his right shoulder. I lifted up his t-shirt sleeve, cleaned the site, and grabbed the muscle while he was talking to one of the police officers. I told him that I was going to stick him and gave him the customary 1, 2, 3 countdown as I stuck the needle into his shoulder. A quick explanation of my shot-giving technique is necessary before moving ahead. When I give a shot, I hold the syringe by the barrel like you would hold a dart before throwing it, between my thumb and index finger with the needle pointing towards the patient, obviously. After the needle is in, I make a split-second move where I rotate my hand so that the barrel of the syringe is between my index and middle fingers, much like you would hold a cigarette. From there, my thumb is free to push the plunger and administer the medication. Anyway, shortly after I stick the needle in this guy, he apparently forgot that I would be sticking him despite my warning not seconds before. He proceeded to freak out at the worst possible time. He turned to look at his arm, clearly alarmed by the syringe poking out of him. At this point, I was getting ready to switch my grip on the syringe from the dart grip to the cigarette grip, but his reaction to getting stuck caused him to pull away from me just as my grip was changing. He leaned to his left and the syringe stayed in his arm as he moved away. From there, he pulled the syringe and still attached needle from his arm with his left hand, raised it, and went after me with it as a weapon. The officers reacted by this point and start to go for the guy to stop him. I heard one of them shout needle, which I assume was the police way of calling out the weapon present in the room. As they're subduing him, his momentum continued towards me. Still shocked, I tried my best to get out of the way, but still felt an impact as something hit my left thigh. The syringe and needle fell to the floor and I saw that the needle was bent. By now, almost everyone in the room was on the patient, who was now screaming at the top of his lungs as staff worked to restrain him to the bed. I reached for the needle and syringe simply to get it out of the way for everyone else and to make sure that everyone had everything they needed during their restraint. At this point, I began to realize exactly what had happened and that I had been attacked. Oh God, please don't tell me that needle hit me. I was terrified thinking of what diseases and nasty shit this guy potentially had that I was exposed to, while contemplating my future life with
#1 mobile RPG in the US.
Yeah.
Millions of players.
Oh, we don't keep count, really.
Google Play's Best of 2019 User's Choice Award.
HIV and hepatitis, I stepped into the bathroom to inspect the damage to my leg. I was so relieved when I found my leg was unscathed. The only explanation I can think of is that somehow the needle hit the pack of gum that was in my left pocket at the time. Wrigley, if you ever need a spokesperson, please have your people get in contact with...
Guess let's go have a look at the new school that's opened up in the mental hospital. Oh man, it's nearly finished. Only a couple more stories to go and then it's finished. Hell yeah. Okay, cool. I'm so excited to go back to school because I've been stuck up in that all day. And, you know, I just want to go to school. Hell yeah. I'm so happy and I'm so not. Basketball court. They still haven't built the body, you know, the body really cool. The maze yet. They still haven't built the maze yet. Oh, hell yeah. Nice. This place is nice. But, no.
My people. After the situation had resolved, one of the police officers approached me and asked if I wanted to press charges against the guy. I initially said no because I felt sorry for the guy. He had psychiatric problems, he can't control what he's doing. As that shift progressed, however, my feelings began to change. Why should I protect this guy because he was methed out of his mind and attacked me? Why should I let this guy get away with giving me anxiety and making me feel uneasy for the rest of my career with psych patients? I later called the officer back and pressed charges against the patient. As of about 2 years ago, nothing has come of the charges because the patient wasn't in his right mind. Again, please, for everyone's sake, don't do meth. This next story is from the same person, so consider it a continuation. After a couple of years of career development, I found myself in a leadership role in the ER. I have been given the title of Night Shift Charge Nurse.
I watched Story Fire 1, first part 1 of my Jugger Nuggets. I can't wait till Isaac comes back. Oh man, I'll be so happy when Isaac comes back. I can't wait till Isaac. Right, I can't wait to Isaac.
In just a couple days, my friends, we'll be starting the Storyfire marketing push. We'll be giving away $24,000 to all of you guys. I'm going to give you details on how to enter this giveaway. You got to download Storyfire. Fire. We got some really cool things planned. So get ready. We got massive creators coming as of literally just 2 days from now. So I want everyone to get hype. Any new creators, I want you guys to welcome them. What the heck is that? Hey, do you hear that?
Yeah, what is that?
I don't know. I thought I heard laughing.
Yeah.
Are you watching?
No?
You watching something? What the heck is that?
Where's Swift?
Huh?
Where's Swift?
I think he's upstairs.
The hell was that?
I don't know. Did you just see that? Swift? Dude. Did somebody just come from downstairs?
I saw something.
Were you down here?
No. Listen.
Hello? Yo. Swift, is that you fucking around? Go around that way. Go around that way. Swift, that's you fucking around. It's not funny, man. What? I told you to go that way.
I'm gonna go by myself.
Swift, seriously. I'm not trying to play hide and seek right now.
Oh, I didn't see.
Swift? Are you just up in your room? He does this. He wants to play hide and seek because the house is big.
See a child?
Why are you doing that with your boys?
I'm getting Slim Jim.
Oh, he's in the pantry. So seriously, you don't gotta hide anymore. Actually, it's cool with you being here for now. Dude, what the?
Jeff.
Okay, bro, seriously, the joke's not fucking funny.
Can you go outside?
Huh? Did he go outside?
I hope. If he did, lock the
Well,
door.
better be getting started pressure washing, dude. I ain't babysitting. He's trying to fucking play games. Probably when his mom asks him to do something, he'll just literally play around outside. Dude, hey. Hey! Yo! Dude! I swear to God! Hey, yo, hey! Swift, seriously. Where did you get that? That outfit. I don't have that.
This is not
It's a character he plays. Swift, seriously, it's you, buddy. The wig, if you remember correctly, the character wasn't even wearing that, if I remember correctly. What do you have behind your back? What is that?
What's wrong?
You're holding something.
I'm holding my hand.
Seriously, Swift, I'm not joking.
It's not Swift.
You're freaking her out.
It's not Swift.
Scaring everyone, bro. Stop, seriously. What the fuck are you doing? Yo. It's airsoft. It's airsoft. Yo. Come here, Swift. You got a fucking gun. Oh, he's running back there. Get him. Swift, get out from there, dude. What are you doing, you motherfucker? Dude, Jesse, serious. What? I've been trying to play Animal Crossing. No, where's the costume? Where's the clown costume? What costume? You snapped it in here? No.
Where's all the makeup and the outfit?
Seriously, bro. You better tell me right now, were you snapping in that mirror?
No, I swear.
Oh crap.
I honestly swear. You're coming back here. Not with that.
Oh crap. It's time to go to bed. Hopefully the school will be ready soon. Cause you know, I just can't wait to go to school again. I miss school, like, you know, I can't wait until the school finish building. Like, oh, man. Why? Is it this one? Yeah, where's this one? It's free time. Nice. Hell yeah, buddy. Oh, I got a knife, G. Just in case if anyone tries to fuck with me, I can just stab. And you know what I just remembered? No, I cannot escape because they built a wall where I cannot escape. I can maybe do this here, but no. Right, I can maybe do this, but nah. Can't wait until that school's finished. I'm so excited. Hopefully it will be ready soon. I guess it's time to have a joint.
Here there. Where am I gonna go then? Get out! You're not allowed in the theater anymore. For as long as that theater, I just wanted to. Huh?
No, he has to go. I'm over this.
Swift.
You had one chance.
Seriously, you scared the hell out of both of us?
That wasn't me.
That wasn't me, really?
You
It was.
had one chance, one night, and you already messed it up.
You had the wig.
No.
You had the costume on.
You had everything.
I was trying. I just went back there to get the Animal Crossing game.
You had the wig.
You swear it wasn't you?
I swear. On my dad's grave.
You understand? There's some. It wasn't you.
It wasn't. I just want to play the game, Dave.
Yes, it was. Are you believing you?
No, look. We'll talk about this another point. I gotta talk to you, seriously.
What?
If you really don't know anything that just happened, we need to have a conversation. I'm gonna talk to him.
There's no way.
There's no way what?
And that was him.
It's an airsoft gun. They were fine, right?
Okay, so you just want an airsoft gun just pointed to you? What the hell is that?
No, I don't. And I don't appreciate that, but it comes down to more something else.
Wait, what happened? I just wanted to play the game.
I'll talk to him. I'm not ready to throw him out just yet because he's doing.
I am. I've been ready.
Why am I getting thrown out?
One more chance.
No.
Please, seriously. Action!
Dude, he just chases around in a clown outfit.
I don't know that was actually him.
Then who was it?
Swifty the clown. Swift, let's talk seriously. I want to talk to this kid, alright? I want to make sure everyone feels safe. And people don't do anything stupid with mirrors.
I still don't understand what happened.
Yeah, you know what you did.
No, really, I just want to play Animal Crossing. That's all the hype.
Yeah? Is this an Animal Crossing?
No, I don't even recognize that.
I can't even show this freaking YouTube. Download Storyfire, guys. Let's talk upstairs. Or outside, somewhere, alright? Let's talk out here on the porch. Just take a seat, man. Just take a seat. How was that, honestly?
What do you think it was?
Did you snap in that mirror?
The other night you said there was alternate realities. And I wanted to go back to my past when my dad was alive, so yes. I was trying to get back to that reality, Jess.
Well, did you have any confirmation that you were even going to the right one? It's not as simple as just like, oh, I want to go here, let me go.
I just thought snapping into the mirror would actually get me to where I needed to be.
And do you know how many times that's messed us up? How many times that I've done that and it's screwed with us? You're literally dipping back into a world that you don't fully understand. I don't even fully understand it.
Well, even if I don't understand, I just want the opportunity to see my dad again.
Okay, and I'd love to go back and revisit past times. I'd love to go back in time, especially with what's going on in the world right now. But we gotta talk about some real stuff, dude. I actually don't want you here. And can't trust you. I mean,
Alright, then what am I gonna do then, Jess? It's not like, you know, the mirror is just...
No outside contact, and they are under strict supervision. So let's take a look at some of these terrifying prisoners. Hey everyone, what's up and welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10. I'm your host, Lindsay Ivan, and today I'm bringing you the top 10 scary prisoners left in solitary confinement. Starting off this countdown, we have the Man in the Iron Mask. The Man in the Iron Mask is the name given to an unidentified prisoner arrested in 1669 or 1670. He was imprisoned during the reign of King Louis XIV of France. Now, what's so scary about this prisoner is how his identity was always kept unknown. He was forced to wear a mask that blocked off his face. Some say he wore a black velvet mask, while others reported that it was a full-on iron mask. Apparently, the guards were ordered to shoot this man if he ever removed the mask. On top of that, he was kept in solitary confinement with double doors. He spent the rest of his life there until he died on November 19th, 1703.
That's weird. Because I accidentally flicked my music box as I was talking like this. So I made a note and then that lit up.
Oh, and the EMF is just gone off. And I was pointing right at it.
Guess let's have a look if the score is done.
Is there someone?
Hopefully it is.
So we had the cat ball and the K2 go off.
Are you ever going to touch that ball again? Can you just push it off the bed?
Oh my god, that freaked me. That would make me do that. I won't, but that would make me do
Just
that.
film it.
Give me a second.
I need to start playing it again, not just filming it.
Here we are.
Thank you for tuning into Amy's Crypt. Tonight we are continuing a series I've been doing on my channel where we play scary paranormal games, and we are going to be giving Red Door, Yellow Door a go, which is a scary, almost psychological game, so I'm very, very excited for it. So let's take a look at how to play.
Hell yeah!
A minimum of 2 participants is required to play. One person will play the role of a guide. The other will be put under a trance. Find a dark, comfortable room to play. The guide should sit on the floor with their legs crossed. The other player will lay down with their head resting in the lap of the guide. The person laying down should raise both of their arms straight up into the air and close their eyes. The guide should rub the temples of the other person with their fingers in a circular motion while repeating the phrase,
Red door, yellow door, any other colour door.
This is used to create a relaxed state and allow the player to enter